babes, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe show, a spinoff of the Be Real Babe podcast. And today, you guys, we are keeping up with Canada. While you're watching this, it is Monday and we are fast approaching an election here in Canada. Pretty big one. I'd say most people are say that's the biggest one in their lifetime. If you're a millennial, you probably feel that way. Could be the age, could be the political sphere out there right now and how things are intense and always intense in the States and then intense here. But I thought today we would go over a topic that I continually see being brought up as something of a concern, which in my opinion, from what I've tried to look into, is a non-issue. So I just wanted to talk about it today and get your guys' opinion on what you think about women's rights and abortions here in Canada, because looking at all politicians' platforms here, this is a non-issue. So if you want to hear about what each politician has to say, and then just finish with something that I think Canadians should be more concerned about than this particular right here in Canada, then stick around and we'll jump right to it. Okay, babes, let's get right to it, because today I know that this is a topic that I keep hearing round and round that is a concern. And again, I just would like to ask you guys, the people that are concerned about women's rights and abortion here in Canada, where you're finding evidence to be worried about. Now, when I go and look at all three platforms, all I'm seeing across the board is we want nothing to do with your life and your choice, and that's up to you, and we'll stay out of it. We have no want to go deeper or change anything with the abortion laws. Not one politician from any party that I can see has said that they're going to change anything. So I'm just truly curious. And again, not feelings, not these people are like Trump or this, that, or the other on both sides. What are the actual policies or things voted for or against that you are seeing that you believe that women's rights and abortion is at risk and jeopardy in Canada? Because as most of us know, there's a pretty big leniency here in Canada. And, remember that just because you have your beliefs and your rights on either end, or believe what rights you should have and all of that and what money should be going to, there are other people in the world that don't agree with you, have different religions, come up different ways, have different world experiences, have different lenses. So I think it's super important when we talk about topics like abortion and women's rights that we understand that we're going to come through our own bias and lens, and that we always are going to try and do our best. I've said many times before on the show that because I am someone that struggles with miscarriage and fertility, that I have a different view on abortion, and that's okay. Everyone's allowed to have a different view. It doesn't mean that just because I have different thoughts and what I would do means that I think that your rights should be restricted. At the end of the day, you have your own religion, you have your own your creator, who you answer to. I don't. So to me, it really seems out of place for me to tell you what to do with your body. All I ask in this conversation is that you are informed. I wasn't informed before, and then I got informed, and that changed my mind. And that's the only thing I ever care about. And you guys know that sorry, I just hit puberty. That's all I've ever cared about on the show, is for you to have informed consent. You choose what you want. I can have my beliefs and my thoughts and how I feel. That's no shade towards you. I think a lot of people need to stop thinking just because someone has a thought or a feeling about something that they hate the other person. No, this is not what I choose to do for myself. When we come into the lines of hurting children, hurting other people, I think, that's where community does need to come in a little bit and, voice their opinions. Really, not really, but you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, these are your choices. Just please be informed and just make sure you're doing everything with good intentions and with authentic movement, because I feel like, and coming from someone who's lost several babies in just different ways, it's a traumatic experience, regardless if you want to take the mental, spiritual, that part out of the whole equation. Is still a difficult time on a woman's body, right? So, there's just a lot more that comes to it. And again, there's a lot that comes with having children too. I completely understand that. So I just think we should be having these conversations more, and we should be talking about things so that we can stop coming at everything so black and white and start getting in the nuance and the gray. And the reason why I'm saying all of this and why I feel free to is because in Canada, you have the choice too. And we'll go over this quickly here. I'm not going to share screen today, but I'm going to read some things out of the article. Here in Canada, you're able to do it definitely in the second trimester, and in some instances pretty late in term, it within reason, right? Obviously, if it's a medical purpose, but still at the end of the day, that's a hard choice for some people when it comes to religion and what they believe in. And I just think that we should let people be where they are. They should have access if that's what they choose. However, I do think that there needs to be some understanding to what's being paid for, you know, and it's not saying that it's not healthcare, but there's a line where it goes from healthcare to a band-aid or birth control, which I do not believe it should be, right? I do believe that we need to be putting in more education. As a millennial, we were not educated. We were just put on birth control and said, don't get pregnant. Pregnancy in teenagers is awful. Don't do it. Get on birth control. And now a bunch of us are messed up and can't have kids. The irony. But you know, I understand that there is a need for all pieces of this puzzle, but I just, again, feel like growing up, we didn't have informed consent about what abortions were, what a miscarriage, not that you need informed consent for a miscarriage, but those things weren't talked about. So people really didn't know, and then they were shamed. And then, you know, that's why I do agree that there should be access to it. At the same time, I don't think that the states should be paying, like, not the states, but like, you know, that taxes should be paying for absolutely everything for everyone. This is why I do believe that there should be private healthcare, because if that is something that a medical procedure that you continually need to have for whichever purposes, like at what point is that something that you should fund for yourself, or where is it actual medical intervention needed for your actual like health and well-being? And I'm sure you could argue to all of it, but you know, some people do unfortunately use it. Like, you know, if I can sit here and admit that there are people that are too extreme, in my opinion, again, everyone can have their own opinion on abortion, then I can also say that there's people that use it too much. I think we can all agree that there's an extreme on either side, and most of us fall in the middle. However, because the minute you speak about it, you're screamed upon about how you don't care about women, when you're just being like, hey, some people are abusing some of these, you know, avenues, procedures, services that some women desperately need, while others maybe could use to be a little bit more responsible. And that goes back to us not really knowing about our bodies and all that, which is a whole other fucking conversation. But one of the biggest things leading up to the election here, and why I want to talk about this today, because reading in the comment sections or watching reels that go about, you know, obviously we know, and I've been very transparent that I'm going to be voting for Conservative and Pierre, but I'm still going to look at other platforms to see. I'm not going to be bamboozled and not go about and see. The problem with myself, again, is that Mark Carney was just here, and the Liberals claim that they care about my body, my choice. I would disagree that you care about my body, my choice in certain avenues, some of them. Speaking the Liberal government, based on what they've done the last couple of years with the vaccine passports, okay? And NDP, unfortunately, I don't know that it matters what Jagmeet says, because he's always just backed the Liberals. It doesn't even look like he stands a chance. So we will go through what he has said here. And as well with the Conservatives, like Pierre has said that he has absolutely no desire to change any of the abortion laws or restrict it at all. If anything, he wants to spend more time and money and effort into not promoting, but supporting adoption and supporting single moms and moms that do want to keep their babies, but feel like maybe they can't because of their situation. And he's more interested in helping single moms have not just abortion as the only option, right? So it's, again, like, nothing here, and not one of their platforms has said that they're going to remove it or change it or challenge it or anything. For me, I'm just seeing that they want a little bit more maybe access. It looks like the NDP wants a little bit more money and stuff put into that from government funding. But let's just go over a couple quotes here. And why this is super important is obviously because in 2022, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and that reversed everything going to the states, you know, and obviously some things changed. Big conversations happened here in Canada. But before we go into, you know, what each party says, let's just have a little look here right off the Canada Health Services website. In Canada, abortion, voluntary termination of pregnancy, is a legal and regulated medical procedure to terminate a pregnancy. It is important to note that provinces and territories have different guidelines related to the abortions. Everyone has the right to make their own decision about their bodies, and no one should be forced to carry an unwanted, unsafe pregnancy. In Canada, the majority of abortions happen in the first 12 weeks of pregnancy. Different clinics and hospitals have different limits for how far into pregnancy they offer abortions. Some hospitals are now offering services later into pregnancy than they used to. Late-term abortions are rare and usually occur because of some serious medical issue. Abortion is one of the most commonly performed medical procedures in the country. Roughly 1 out of 3 women in Canada will have abortion during their lifetime. Canada has limited information on how many trans and non-binary people access abortion services, but we know they do as well. You do not need consent from partners or parents to seek abortion. However, provinces and territories have different guidelines for minors on how to consent. So there's 2 types. You can have medical or surgical. Medical being the abortion pill, quote unquote. people that know, like morning after pill. And then there's obviously the surgical abortions as well. So there is on the website, Canada.ca and Public Health Services. There's lots on abortion here in Canada. So this is, again, why I get a little bit confused and why we're talking about this, because it's a non-issue here in Canada. I understand that other places in the world are changing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's Canada. And at the end of the day, all we can do is vote for the person that we believe is going to live by what they say. And then us as constituents, we have to make sure that they hold towards that, to the things that we care about. We also have to understand that we're not going to love everything, that we all have different religions, we all have different experiences, we all have different current economic statuses and mental health statuses and physical statuses. And there's so many different parts of being a human being. That's why it's important, like, we all know we all do it. We're human and judge, but, judge for what you would want to do for yourself. It's not judging the person on what they're doing as their actions. They meet their maker. It's not your business. But I think the judgment of being like, is that something that I would do personally? No, I'm not comfortable with that. Doesn't mean I'm going to treat that person any differently. Doesn't mean that I'm going to dislike that person. Just kindly, I wouldn't do that for myself, but you have free will and you can do what you want. And that doesn't mean that I think anybody's a bad person or whatever. I'm struggling to have one. So for me to go and get one would be kind of completely counterintuitive. But that being said, I know lots of people that have needed them and you know what I mean? I know I'm going back and forth on this, but just what I'm saying is, like, to me, there is access for women here. I think if anything, there's a lack of support for people that want to adopt and that are having fertility issues and supporting families coming together. If anything, I think the foster care system and taking care of the kids that we have here as well is super important, so that's where I wish that we would talk to and look into, instead of talking about this abortion thing when, again, none of them have said that they're going to do anything with that. Okay, let's get into Carney now. So he says, I'm not a politician, I'm a pragmatist. If I see something that's not working, I will change it, Carney said on February 5th in his visit to Windsor, Ontario. Carney's campaign trail is providing Canadians with an opportunity to learn more about the current Prime Minister and his views. Like his predecessor, Justin Trudeau, Carney is Catholic and supports abortion rights. I'm proud to live in a country where women's rights to choose is strongly supported, Mark Carney. I absolutely support a woman's right to choose unreservedly and will defend it as the Liberal Party has defended it proudly and consistently, Carney said during a March 23rd press conference in Ottawa. I will defend the Charter proudly and consistently as the Liberal Party does. Carney added that he prefers not to speak about his personal faith and spirituality. I'll say what's relevant is that it informs my sense of responsibility and service, he said. I feel like I should serve our country the best I can. In 2022, Carney took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to express his dismay on the United States' turn of Roe v. Wade. There. Any conservative women, any NDP women, any Green Party women worrying about Carney doing anything, doesn't sound like he's going to. If anything, Liberals don't want to do that. Again, not sure I agree with you when you say you care about the Charter and our rights and freedoms. If you support what the Liberals did back in the pandemic, but I digress. I got my little jabs. Listen, I feel like I've been pretty nice. Okay. So going on to Pierre Poilievre. In 2024, Pierre Poilievre said that the Conservative government would not support any legislation to regulate abortion. The statement came following Conservative MP Arnold Viersen comments during a podcast interview with Liberal MP Nate Erskine-Smith. The Conservative Alberta MP expressed his view on abortion and gay marriage, which he told Erskine-Smith he would vote against it if given the opportunity. I will lead a small government, again, understanding that these conversations need to come up because of what's happening in the US, but people are going to say stuff. I mean, we're not even going to get into the MP that was trying to give up someone for a bounty. We won't go there, okay? But let's keep it on topic, okay? Let's keep it on topic, because one MP said a while ago, this is where it's stemming. Not because Pierre said anything, because someone within his party, which you're not going to always align with everybody again, right? All sides. So when I say liberals and I'm talking about liberals, I'm talking about the Liberal government. If you identify with what I'm talking about, then maybe I'm talking about you. But if I'm saying liberal or I'm saying NDP, I am saying the government. Okay, so Pierre is saying, I will lead a small government that minds its own business, letting people make their own decisions about their love lives, their families, their bodies, their speech, their beliefs, and their money, Poilievre said. During the Conservative Party 2022 leadership race, Poilievre said that he considers himself pro-choice and, despite attending pro-life events in the past, has earned criticism from pro-life groups over his current stance. In 2024, Poilievre responded to a letter from an anti-abortion supporter who criticized the Conservative Party's leader's pro-choice stance. I do not believe that abortion should be the only option available to women faced with an unexpected pregnancy. Pro-life Canadians are welcome in our party. The Conservative Party of Canada is a big tent with a strong tradition of free votes of conscience, and I intend to maintain the status quo, Poilievre said in an email response obtained by National Post. While my government will not introduce or pass a law banning abortions, there are many other ways to support women who want to bring a child into the world. I do not believe that abortion should be the only option available to women faced with an unexpected pregnancy. Poilievre says he believes in focusing on bills that promote adoption and help pregnant women through crises would do greater good. I completely agree. Again, I'm not really sure. And I know there's a conversation about birth control. Guys, birth control is not great, okay? You want, anyways, whatever. That's not even about this topic. But point being, so that is the Conservative Party. Doesn't sound like they want anything to change. Why am I voting for Conservative? For the exact reasons he said here, to help make adoption easier, to help women. How sad is, I think it's even worse that women that want to have babies but can't have the babies because they can't support themselves. And this is something that's going to support them. I did not see this in the Liberals' conversation. What are they doing? Are they doing that? I'll go look, but you would think in this conversation that would be talked about. But he's just said, I'm not doing anything about it. Okay. Are you doing anything to help women's rights? Because it sounds like Pierre's here. Again, this is what I feel. Okay, so let's now go to Jagmeet, although I'm not sure that even matters because it doesn't even seem, but I'm trying to be fair and nice. He has been vocal about his party's belief in protecting and expanding abortion access and critical of his opponents despite their pro-choice stance. It's your body, your life, and your choice, said Singh in an October 24 statement. Access to health care, including abortion care, is a Canadian value. But while Trudeau lets people down by allowing Conservative premiers to erode access, anti-choice crusaders have been calling the shots for Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives. Poilievre claims he's pro-choice but allows his caucus to attack the right to choose again and again. Votes against choice again and again. I'm hearing more and more from women and gender diverse people who are worried. Abortion is healthcare and people should not have to worry about accessing care, facing barriers to care and having to pay for care. They should be able to have access to it where and when they need it. The NDP is going to fight to protect it. Okay. Cool. How's healthcare doing? So you care about abortion, but what about the fertility problems? What about the mental health crisis? What about people waiting and having to go out of the country, Jagmeet? So maybe not access to abortions is the problem because, again, there's no problems. There's no problems. And again, we could all learn to reflect a little bit and be a little bit more self-aware, self-responsible. Not saying, do not fucking come at me because I'm not saying it's all of them, but do not tell me that that does not happen. And do not tell me that you don't know people that use abortion as birth control. And if you don't, then just a simple Google search. Just because you don't want to believe it doesn't mean it's not true on many angles. This is why I try to come at a balanced point of view, even though inside that would absolutely kill me to have to do that personally. So I would rather support someone that wants to open up what that would be like so that a single mom, y'all say you hate men. Well, now Pierre wants to support you being able to be a single mom and a mom without a man. There you go. And if you want to be a family, you can be a family. He'll support that. Hey, and if you can't have one, guess what? He's going to help with adoption because he's been adopted. Okay? Trying to be as balanced as possible. So I'm going to say that it doesn't look like anybody's going to be attacking any woman's rights. Birth control is not the only method to not have a baby. Abstinence and tracking your cycle is another one. Again, a little bit harder, a little more natural, doable. And I'm not speaking for the women that got held against their will and they have to face that. At the same time, I will never tell a child that they shouldn't be born in the world just because how they were conceived was ugly. And I'm sorry, but I actually have friends that were born out of that. And they constantly say how tired they are of hearing that they shouldn't be happy and they shouldn't be alive because of how they were conceived. So I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that you have the choice and you decide based on your experiences, what's happening in your life and what's best for you. And I will do the same for me. I will respect that. I will say that that's not for me. I don't think it should be banned. I think you should be able to choose. At the same time, I don't think we should bleed all of the money into this form of healthcare for women. I think we should look at other avenues. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. But I wanted to leave with one thing because I found out something today that I had no idea was a thing. It is called Tax Freedom Day here in Canada. And this is what I think you should this is what I'm going to leave you with today to go and look at the politicians and see what they want to do for taxes. Today, so this is from last year. Today, June 13th is Tax Freedom Day, 4 days later than in 2019. In 2024, the average Canadian family earned $147,000 in income and pay an estimated $65,000 in total taxes, around 44%. If the average Canadian family had to pay its taxes up front, it would have to work until June 12th to pay the total tax bill imposed on it by all three levels of government: federal, provincial, and local. This means that Tax Freedom Day, the day in the year when the average Canadian family has earned enough money to pay the taxes imposed on them in 2024, fell on June 13th. Tax Freedom Day in 2024 comes a day later than 2023 when it fell on June 12th. This change is due to the expectation that the total tax revenue forecasted by Canadian governments will increase faster than the incomes of Canadians. Tax Freedom Day in each province varies according to the extent of the provincially levied tax burden. The earliest provincial Tax Freedom Day falls on May 26 in Manitoba, and the latest June 30th in Newfoundland and Labrador. Canadians are right to be thinking about the tax implications of the $69.9 billion projected federal and provincial government deficits in 2024. For this reason, we calculated the balanced budget Tax Freedom Day, the day on which the average Canadian would start working for themselves if the government were obliged to cover current expenditures. That would be June 23rd this year. So the breakdown of total tax bill out of the 44%: 15% income tax, payroll healthcare taxes 10%, sales taxes 6%, property taxes 2%, profit taxes 4%, sin taxes 1.6%, fuel vehicle carbon taxes 1.4%, and other taxes 2.2% in 2024, based on a family income of $147,000, which should be a good amount of money. So I will leave you with that, and that's what I think is important. So I've heard what people are saying in the comment section, and quite a big talking point on the Liberal side and the NDPs is this thought. And I'm not sure that it's a real thing that we have to worry about. But if we don't have any money, we're not going to be able to have any families. All of us are going to have to maybe take that choice, if you know what I'm saying. Like that. Can we please talk about the issues that are very, very front and center today? Because this doesn't seem like it is on anybody's platform to change at all. If anything, maybe adjust it to open it up a little bit more, or look at other avenues for support. I do not see anywhere where it says any political party has any women's rights at jeopardy. And please show me in the last 10 years between all sides who has done that. And please let me know, because I honestly want to know. I'm Googling just as much as you guys are. I'm not being a dick, so let me know. But you guys, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Next episode, again, I'm going to maybe pick another topic and let's look at all parties across the board and see what they're doing. And again, obviously, I'm going to have my lens of conservative because I'm voting for that. But I hope to try and be as balanced as possible. And hopefully we can all come together. I'm working on it. But I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye.